ओम साई राम, ओम साई राम, ओम साई राम। श्री सच्चिदानंद सदगुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय। श्री सच्चिदानंद सदगुरु साई कृष्णानंद महाराज की जय। श्री सच्चिदानंद सदगुरु जगत गुरु बाल योगिराज साई नारायण महाराज की जय। साई लीलावती माता की जय। श्री साई बाबा of Shirdi. A sketch of the life of teachings of Sri Sai Baba of Shirdi. On the 24th of September 1931, when a literate appeared in the Times of India on Babajan, the then departed lady saint of Pune, a reference had been made, and that lucid and learned literate to the late well-known saint Sai Baba of Shirdi. On reading the same, most of the Sri Sai Baba devotees, with a very close contact with the saint for over a decade, very sorely disappointed to find that the most of the significant facts of Sai Baba's life, long career, and teachings had remained unknown to and inspired and propagandist publications had embraced. Some of the responsible leaders of public opinion in India, such devotees, therefore considered it their sacred duty to suggest that the true history of Sai Baba, as had been observed by eyewitness in continuous touch with Sai Baba and as jotted down by them, especially by the late Hari Sitaram Dikshit of revered memory as one of the well-known devotees of Sai Baba, should be translated into English for the benefit of the vast mass of English-knowing people in the world. Mrs. R.A. Tarkad and the B.V. Deo, well-known devotees of Sri Sai Baba, desired me to undertake this job, which appeared to me to be very wondrous, and I had therefore to pluck up courage, and I have tried to discharge this pleasant duty to the best of my humble abilities. Of course, instances of spiritual and physical miracles performed by Sri Sai Baba are too numerous to mention. A few of them have been sung by the late Mr. G.R. alias Anna Sahib Dabholkar, first class resident magistrate of Bandra, in his learned Sai Satcharitra, which is a fitting supplement to Das Ganu Maharaj narration of Sai Baba's earlier miracles through some of the famous publications, that is Bhakta Leelamrit and Santa Kathamrit, etc. I have therefore tried to confine myself scriptures to those instances jotted down by the late Sri Hari Sitaram Dikshit in his short sketch in Marathi of Sri Sai Baba, Wide Sai Leela, Volume Number 1. Just as the taste of the pudding is in the eating of it, so whether Shirdi, containing as it does the various sanctified and sacred remains of Sai Baba with its inexhaustible supply of Udi, that is ashes of the sacred fire of Duni, which is ever kept burning in the Dwarkamai, and which Udi has unchangingly continued to work the same miracles as it used to do in the lifetime of Sai Baba, is one of the important places of pilgrimage, can only be realized by the personal visit to the shrine of Sai Baba in the humble yet sacred village of Shirdi on the Manmad Ahmednagar trunk road, about 11 miles away from the Kopargaon railway station and 8 miles from the town of Kopargaon on the bank of the sacred river Godavari. Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Sri Sainath alias Sai Baba Maharaj, the saint of the world fame, first appeared in Shirdi as a very handsome lad of 16 about the year 1872 AD. Shirdi is a small village abiding on the Agra trunk road in the Kopargaon Taluka in the Ahmednagar district. Up to now, there is no reliable information about the place, birth, and parentage of Sri Sai Baba. This much is certain that Sai Baba was very familiar with the several places in the Nizam's territory. In his talks, he several times used to mention Shelu, Jalna, Manmad, Pathri, Parbhani, Aurangabad, Bir, Bedar, all Mughlai places. Once a man from the Pathri had come to take Baba's darshan. Baba's inquiries made from the man about the Patri village and several of its well-known residents showed that he knew the place very intimately. But this alone does not warrant that Patri was Baba's birthplace. So also, whether Baba was born a Brahmin or a Musalman cannot authoritatively stated. Once Baba said to the late Hari Sitaram Dikshit, well known in Bombay as a Bau Sahib Dikshit and in Ashirdi as a Kaka Sahib Dikshit, that after Baba left his body, Baba would return as a lad of 80 years, exactly as the Lord Shri Krishna had done. Many devotees of Baba believed him to be an incarnation and not as an evolved saint, and all this belief of theirs was based on their own personal observation of what Baba spoke and did. Although Sai Baba at times used to please himself by uttering Yade Hak, that is, I always remember God and I avoided expression Anal Hak, that is, I am God. Still, innumerable cases have been recorded where Baba, thousands of devotees have realized the omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence of Sri Sai Baba. Sri Sai Baba came to Shirdi along with the marriage procession of the relation of one Chandbhai, the Patala of a village of Dubkhede. Prior to this, one of the said Chandbhai's horses had strayed into the jungle and could not traced for a long time. On the lookout for his missing horses, Chandbhai, while wandering in the jungle, sighted Sai Baba sitting under a tree. He had never seen Baba before. Sai Baba called him, saying, "Go after smoking chillum." And Chandbhai said that he was in search of the missing horse and could not afford to thus loiter on his way. Sai Baba told him not to worry and that his horse would be found grazing on the other side of the hedge further on. At this, Chandbhai hastened to that spot and, to his great astonishment, found his valuable and beloved missing horse grazing exactly as stated by Sai Baba. Chandbhai was a devote of a God-fearing person and promptly presented himself before Sai Baba with his horse in a suppliant mood and expressing his desire to partake of the chillum. But there was no fire or for lightening the chillum, nor water, nor moistening the chillum cloth. Sai Baba, by a stroke of the pair of pincers, at once produced the fire, and by another stroke, nearby water came out, and thus this inevitable jungle chillum party convinced Sai Baba. Convinced Chandbhai that Sai Baba was certainly a being of very high order, and therefore requested him to go with him, Chandbhai, to his house. Sai Baba told Chandbhai that he would come the following day and did accordingly. After a few days' stay at Chandbhai's, to the greatest good luck of the people of Shirdi, Sai Baba came to Shirdi with the said marriage procession, which camped into the field near Khandoba's and visited a temple. Khandoba's temple on the outskirts of the village. One Mahalsapati, the goldsmith of a caste of Shirdi, was a devotee of the Sri Khandoba and visited a temple daily. There, when this Mahalsapati first saw Sai Baba, the former spontaneously accosted him, saying, "Welcome, Sai Baba," and this is the name, that is Sai Baba, by which thereafter this saint of sense became known to the world. Sometime after coming to the Shirdi, when Sai Baba happened to be examined on commission in the case in answering the question as to what his name was, Sai Baba said, "I am called Sai Baba." Mahalsapati brought Sai Baba inside the village and therefore introduced him, Baba, to his Mahalsapati's friend Kashiram, Shimpi, and Appa Jangle. These three Shirdi folks, Mahalsapati, Kashiram, and Appa Jangle, were in the habit of welcoming according to their means whoever came to their village, especially people who had renounced the world and were an aesthetic nature. After the marriage procession were back, but Sai Baba chose to remain in Shirdi to the great joy of the about trio, who eventually became Sai Baba's devout worshippers. Both Kashiram and Appa died after some years of Ekadashi days, thus giving proof of their devotion to Sri Sai Baba. Kashiram worshipped Sai Baba with his tan body, man, mind, and dhan, his wealth. Tan, man, dhan. Sai Baba used to wear a white-orange colored kafni, But Kashiram had prepared a green kafni and a cap for Sai Baba, but later on Sai Baba wore a white kafni and a folded piece with white cloth on his head. Kashiram used to provide tobacco for Chilam and firewood for the Dhuni, and also to give Baba some money. Later on, he placed every month all his cash before Sai Baba, requesting the latter to take as much he liked. At that time, Sai Baba never took any money from anybody as Dakshina. Still from Kashiram, he used to take a piece or a two always. Kashiram had become so much attached to Sai Baba that he always prayed that Sai Baba should take money from him. If on any occasions Sai Baba refused to take anything from Kashiram, he was grieved and shed tears. That this mentally was a kind of egoism and hindrance to the realization of oneself has been taught by Sai Baba to hundreds of his latter devotees by bringing home to them that nobody was rich enough to give whatever dakshina. Sai Baba would ask for, and so it eventually happened to Kashiram, who later on could not pay what Sai Baba asked for. As his financial state became poorer and poorer, and then he fully realized that it was a mere vanity on his part to think that he could pay anything to that Sai Baba would demand. After such convictions, Kashiram's financial condition gradually improved and he became happy, but never again panted as before to pay whatever Sai Baba would demand. Kashiram was a trader in the cloth and so visited several villages on Bazaar Day. Once, while returning from Naur Bazaar, he was waylaid by dacoits. Kashiram was on a horseback and the dacoits did not go for him at first, but waylaid the carts that were going along with him, and when they saw Kashiram, they ran towards him and began to ransack him. Kashiram surrendered everything except a small bundle which the robbers could thought contained money. As a matter of the fact, it contained powdered sugar. A Sant Janaki Das Baba had advised Kashiram to put such a sugar before ants, and so Kashiram always carried a packet of sugar with him and considered it a great treasure. And come what may, he would never let this packet go. In the struggle, Kashiram saw a sword nearby, dropped by one of the robbers. Kashiram got hold of the sword and killed two of the robbers outright. But the third robber gave a blow with an axe on the head of the Kashiram, who fell down in the pool of blood, almost dead. The remaining robbers took Kashiram for dead and left him there. After a time, Kashiram regained consciousness and recovered from some days. As he had complete faith in the Sai Baba as God incarnate, he declined to be removed to the hospital but urged the people to carry him straight to the Shirdi. At the Shirdi, Sai Baba asked Madhavara Deshpande to attend on him, and Kashiram recovered from the treatment ordered by Sai Baba. The government of Bombay rewarded Kashiram with a sword for his valor against the dacoits. While Kashiram had been struggling with the dacoits, Sai Baba in the Shirdi was vociferating and abusing in anger. Looking towards the direction of a Kashiram, the devotees nearby at once felt that some devotee of Sai Baba must be in a great danger, and all this anger and fighting mood was meant to fight against and avoid the danger of a devotee. A phenomenon which ultimately appeared to be too true. There were many armed robbers against Kashiram, and it was a miracle pure and simple that Kashiram was able to defy them and escape from the jaws of the death. But as it is said, the killer is always helpless before the savior. Kashiram lived after this some years and died in Shaka 1813 on Chaitra Pratipada Day. This incident at the start, which is only one out of the hundreds, if not thousands, that happened later on, it is a convincing proof that Sai Baba really was and firstly it proves that Sai Baba was completely merged in the Atman, pervading the entire universe, and therefore could at once know what was happening everywhere in the entire universe. Secondly, he had the power to so arrange the struggle that Kashiram could slay two robbers, that the axe blow on the head could not entirely kill Kashiram, that the robbers could be deluded to take him for dead, that within such a long period intervening between Kashiram's bleeding and his arrival at Shirdi, hemorrhage or later tetanus would not put on the end of the Kashiram's life. Miracles which only the one in tune with the infinite could perform. One of the about Rayun and Shirdi Mahalsapati lived till the year 1922. Mahalsapati was admirably attached to Sai Baba and therefore was very intimate with him. Sai Baba used to sleep one day in the masjid called at Sai Baba's own desire Dwarkamai and the next day in the Chawdi. When Sai Baba slept in the Dwarkamai, Mahasapati was with the Sai Baba throughout the day night. They both had a tete off and on. And what was Pandya to Sri Krishna? This Mahasapati was to Sai Baba. Till the end of his life, Malsapati sat up throughout the night and the Dwarkamai even after Sai Baba's Samadhi on every alternate day. In fact, this Malsapati was an emblem of a poverty, Viveka and Vairagya and a contentment. Since the time Sai Baba came to Shirdi, he used to stay in the masjid which at that time had been in a very dilapidated condition. At daytime, he moved about but always returned to the masjid at night. If anybody invited him for dinner, he went and treated and gave medicine to the people but never accepted any money for the same. Not only that, but he personally nursed the patients, and there are still living some who had the good luck of being nursed by Sai Baba. Later on, Baba stopped giving medicine and only continued to give his udi ashes out of the fire, which was constantly kept burning in the Dwarkamai. And this Duni has been similarly maintained by the Shirdi Sansan Committee up to this date. That Sai Baba gave medicine to the people was told that Sai Baba himself to the late Sri Sitaram Dikshit. He addressed Dikshit by the name Kaka. Sai Baba said, Kaka, formerly I used to give medicine to the people. Later I gave Sai Baba in suppliant postures, humbly requesting to be forgiven and condoned. Some of them who had actually persecuted him became terribly afraid because they had thoroughly misunderstood Sai Baba, who was kind and loving to the friend and foe alike. He loved everyone of the village equally, and whenever any danger of the calamity threatened the village or any individual, Sai Baba gave timely warning. And to those who listened to this advice, invariably realized the enormity of the danger and thus had miraculous escapes from them. Although the entire village had come to put implicit faith in Sai Baba, still very few happened to be intimate with him. Few had to be intimate with him, owing to Sai Baba's serene yet austere looks. Nobody dared take any undue liberty with him. And then very few frequented the Dwarka Mai. One Madhavrao Balwant Deshpande, who had been a school teacher in the school next to the Masjid Dwarka Mai, began to frequent the masjid there, prepare the chilam and smoke the same in Sai Baba's company. This went on for some time, and Madhavra became attached to the Sai Baba so much that gradually he left off everything, and his only business in life was to serve the steadily growing stream of devotees that began to pour in the Shirdi incessantly. All the service of Madhavrao was purely honorary. This Madhavrao was a living lexicon of Sai Baba of Shirdi, and as much as such as a reliable guide for many a newcomer to the shrine of Sai Baba in Shirdi. Madhavrao died in year 1939. As a rule of Sai Baba never went out of Shirdi, but at times he went to one of the devotees by name Baba Sahib Dengle in the neighboring village of Neemgaon, the north at the times of the village of Rahata. Three rules towards the south to the house of Chandrabhan Sheth Marwadi. After the death of Chandrabhan, Kaushal Chand Sheth looked after the business of the shop. Sai Baba off and on invited this Kushal Chand, and when anybody from Rahata came to Sai Baba, he would invariably ask him whether he had met Khushal Chand. Nana Sahib Dengle, brother of a Baba Sahib Dengle, lived in a Jali Nimgaon. He had no son as he did not get a son by his first wife. He married to a second, but to on no effect, Baba Sahib Dengle sent him to Sai Baba, and thus Nana Sahib Dingle, who came in a frequent contact with the government officials, always sang the song of Sai Baba's superhuman powers to these officials. These induced Chidambar Keshawala's Anna Sahib Gadgil, the chiefness of the collector, to take Sai Baba's darshan, and he did so with some others. Now, Anna Sahib Gadgil's faith in Sai Baba's increased day by day, and he became one of the Baba's staunch devotees. The Masjid Dwarkamai, in which Sai Baba sat and slept every alternate night, had been in a very dilapidated condition. There was a plenty of dust on the ground, which was being added to by the help of a dust falling from the dry mud roof. Nana Sahib Dingle brought for the Sai Baba a wooden plank for sleeping upon. Sai Baba, instead of keeping this plank on the floor and sleeping on it, tied the plank like a swing to the rafter of the masjid with the old rags, and commenced to sleep on it. The racks were so worn out that it was a question whether they could hold the weight of the plank itself, but they here again Simon disclosed this Leela by enabling the withered racks to sustain the weight of the plank with himself sleeping on it. On the four corners of his plank, Simon lighted a lamp Panati at each of the four corners. It was a sight courted by many observers to see how Sai Baba mounted this flag, but the fact is that although many kept watching the event, nobody ever noticed how and when Sai Baba mounted this plank. All that they could observe was Sai Baba about to mount the plank, and Sai Baba slept on the plank. This naturally attracted crowds of the people, and careful observers were posted by release for the number of days without effect. But as crowds began to increase to detect this unbelievable feat, Sai Baba, in order to get rid of the bother, one day broke the plank into pieces. The desire which drew Nana Sahib Dengle to Sai Baba also inspired Gopal Rao Gund, revenue circle inspector of a Kopargaon, who, though he had three wives, had no sons. He got a son by Sai Baba's benediction, and he naturally became attached to Sai Baba. At one time, he thought of rebuilding the dilapidated masjid and stored a sufficient heap of his stones for the purpose, but Sai Baba refused him to permission to rebuild the masjid. But that service was reserved for the some future devotee. The stones collected by Gopal were, by the desire of Sai Baba, utilized in renovating the temple of a Shani god and other temples of the village. Sai Baba was mindful of preserving all the places of worship in the village. He got rebuilt and extended the Maruti temple, and also took care of the Muslim darbat of the place. It is mentioned about that the Sai Baba at times used to sit under a neem tree outskirt of the village. Sai Baba once said that there was a darbat of a peer underneath that neem tree. Placed therefore dug up the ground there, and were surprised to discover that there was a soul. On that day, Sai Baba was taken out in the procession, accompanied by the music and singing. As a regards this darbat, Sai Baba once told Kaka Sahib Dikshit that that was a place of his ancestors, and that it would be conducive to the god of those that would burn incense there on every Thursday and Friday. Once Gopalrao Gund thought that annual fair Urus should be held in the Shirdi in honor of Sri Sai Baba. He communicated his idea to Tatya Patil, Dada Kote Patil, Madhavrao Deshpande, etc., to the village, who readily fell in with the view and began to raise funds for the same. But Then Kulkarni of the place opposed the idea with the result that an order from the collector was issued disallowing the holding of the fair. But Sai Baba had given his clear benediction for the holding of the fair, and therefore the protagonist of the fair again applied to the collector, who cancelled this his first order and gave the permission. And the desire of Sai Baba that fair was fixed on the Ram Navami day. It is being held every year on the Ram Navami day since that time up till now. श्री सच्चिदानंद सदगुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय। श्री सच्चिदानंद सदगुरु साईं करुणानंद महाराज की जय। श्री सच्चिदानंद सदगुरु जगत गुरु बाल युगराज साईं नारायण महाराज की जय। साई लीलावती माता की जय। ओम साई राम।